Hare Krishna and welcome everyone to our weekly Bhagavad Gita session. Today we are going to discuss about one very important verse from Bhagavad Gita which has deep implications and application as well. And this is the verse 2.39 and 2.40. Predominantly, we'll be talking about 2.40, which talks about how eternal benefit accrues to anyone who performs some devotional service. So before that, let's do a little recap of from where we are, just to understand where we are in the flow of Bhagavad Gita. So we've been discussing Bhagavad Gita. We understand it's a transformational knowledge. This knowledge is supposed to transform our consciousness, not only our internal consciousness, but also our external actions. The internal consciousness help us act in the world. So when we transform, we just not learn Bhagavad Gita theoretically. We also should apply Bhagavad Gita in our life. We also should start seeing things happening in our life in and around us from the perspective of Bhagavad Gita. Any event happening, you can ask yourself a questions: how, what does it mean with reference to Bhagavad Gita? So that we relate Bhagavad Gita to our real life, and we are not disconnected. We are not. This knowledge is not independent of the world. This is very much part of this world, and this knowledge actually help us live in this world. And hence, this transformation has to be of internal consciousness, but also of external actions. So this is where we are. This is where we are. We are on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna has given a direction to Krishna saying, please take my chariot in between two armies, drive my chariot in between two armies. Who is speaking to whom? A devotee is speaking to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee is giving order to ordering Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. Uh, that person who existed when nothing existed, not this universe, but no other universe existed. He existed. At that time also he existed. And he created everything by his own sweet will. That person is present on the chariot of Arjuna as a driver. Why? Because he loves his devotee. He loves his devotees so much that he wants to serve his devotees, pure devotees. And he takes great pleasure. He gets great pleasure by rendering such minuscule service to his devotee for the pleasure of his devotees. So devotees are always acting to please the Lord. Devotees are always thinking and acting in a way to make Lord happy. And Lord is also actually doing the same. Lord is also constantly thinking and doing things that can bring glories to his devotees, that can make his devotees very happy. And this competition of reciprocation is constantly going on in between pure devotees of Lord and his Lord himself. And so this is a beautiful exchange which cannot be understood by a third person. For this, to understand this, either you should become a pure devotee or you should become Supreme Personality of Godhead. Becoming Supreme Personality of Godhead is not possible. But becoming pure devotee of Lord, or becoming a devotee in the parampara of those pure devotees, that is possible. And that we should be doing. And when we hear in parampara from our guru, from our seniors, we become privy to this information, to this transcendental exchange between Lord and his pure devotees. And then we can understand by the mercy of Lord, by the mercy of pure devotees, we can understand the transcendental nectarian exchanges between Krishna and his devotees, which is referred to as Leela or pastimes. And when we understand those pastimes, our attraction towards Lord increases, and our we get inspiration to become better devotees than what we are today. And that is how we progress towards Krishna, progress towards Lord. And ultimately, this progress, inch by inch, a small fraction by fraction, eventually will take us to Krishna. Do a quick recap of chapter 1 and where we are in chapter 2. Chapter 1, we've started with the Dhritarashtra asking question to Sanjaya. Mamakah Pandavaschaiva Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. Uh, that those who have assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what did they do? There are two type of people. There are my people and there are other than my people. Pandu's sons and my sons. So the question itself is asked at a bodily level, shows oneself's lack of spiritual knowledge. So Dhritarashtra was not only physically blind, he also had spiritual blindness. So when we deal with the world, we should see things from both the perspective, from the material perspective and from the spiritual perspective. And then that seeing is correct seeing. If we only function at the material level, at the level thinking we are body and everything connected with our body is mine, then we are living life that of an animal, because animal also does not think anything beyond this. But by the grace of the Supreme Lord, by the grace of Lord Krishna, we are all given human bodies. All the 94 of us have human form of bodies. In the human form of body, we have higher intelligence. We have capacity to inquire. Inquire about from where we came from and where we will go. What is happening in this world? Who is in control of this world? If I'm not in control, but I know someone is in control, everything is happening in a very systematic way. How is this all coming about? Who is controlling? Why he is controlling? What does he expect me to do in this world? I may have a lifespan of 90 years or 9 years, but what am I supposed to do in this period so that my miserable condition can be rectified? We are all suffering. We are all suffering. Have a firm conviction about the fact that all of us are suffering. All of us are growing old every day, every hour, every minute, every second than what we were a second before. None of us wants to become old. None of us wants to get diseased, and definitely none of us wants to die. But all of us are forced to go through this these things. We are forced into these things much against our wish, much against our desire. Why? Because soul as a spiritual spark has experienced eternal life in the spiritual world. Therefore, that same soul in the material world is longing to for that eternal life, is searching for that eternal life, is trying to create that eternal life which it had experienced in the spiritual world, in the material world. But doing right things at wrong place does not give fruits. And therefore, every attempt made by the soul to create perfect, loving, eternal life in the material world is met by frustration, is frustrated. All those efforts are frustrated. Uh, so therefore, we should act according to our nature. Our nature is spiritual. We should perform spiritual activities. So Arjuna, coming back to the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, where we already discussed about 24th verse, when Arjuna request Krishna to take the chariot in between two armies. And then looking at everyone, Arjuna also is caught up in the dilemma. And now he's not able to decide what is to be done. And he's overwhelmed by compassion. He feels there will be no enjoyment after killing my own relatives and my friends. All this will lead to sinful reactions, because killing people is is definitely not good. My own people, if I end up killing my own people, it certainly will lead to sinful reactions. Disturbance of social order. Now, social order, as women and children will get exposed to after all the men get killed, the woman will definitely get exposed. Women and children will get exposed, and that will lead to unwanted progeny, and that unwanted progeny will stop the process of offering food and water for the departed souls. Arjuna considered this to be a dharmic situation. And we see in today's world that adharma, that same adharma is considered to be profound work. It's considered to be something that people take pride in. I know of a few relatives who never performed any uh, last rites on the departed souls of their own parents. 1 minute. So disturbance of social order, and so Arjuna find himself caught up in the war of on one hand he was feeling he should protect his relatives, on another hand he was feeling he should fight because kshatriyas are meant to fight against adharma, and he was not able to decide which one is important, which one is more important, and that leads to indecision. In that where Arjuna considered everything as lose lose. If you do this, you're losing. If you do that, you're losing. So no matter what you do, you will lose. And in that bewildered state of mind, uh, bewildered state of mind, Arjuna decides to turn to Lord Krishna and become his shishya. Shishyaste aham shadhi matvam prapannam. Become his shishya and become his. I seek instructions from him. Pruchami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. What instructions? Ask Krishna to tell him for certain what is best for me. Arjuna is asking, what is my duty? And in the bewildered state of mind. As we spoke, the comparison, the confusion is between whether to act as a Kshatriya or to act as a Kurunandan. And Krishna begins his instructions the by highlighting the difference between the body and the soul. The people that you see standing in front of you with a desire to fight, O Arjuna, have two components in them. There are material there's a material body, and then there is spiritual spark which is making this body move. Just like a moving car that we see on the road has two components. One is the car itself, the machine that car is, that itself, which could be a very high class car to a low class cheap car, but the car nevertheless is a machine, and the driver inside that car who is making that car to move, that driver. So it's always a combination of the two. We can perceive whenever we see a moving car on the road. Similarly, whenever we see a moving body in this world around us, we should know now. With this, after this lecture, definitely we should know that we are not that there are both the components present inside every body. One there is a spiritual spark, and another one, that is material body, that is made up of the earth, water, fire, air, ether. Now these things, this is this is the this is considered to be the fundamental knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. It's not very high class knowledge. it is the basic knowledge. Uh, and that is given at right at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. So there is a slight problem in the Zoom. Apparently, we have reached the limit of 100. So those who are present in the class, please don't leave the class. And I'm going to close my own Zoom account so we become 99. Somebody else can join. Yeah, someone else has joined. Um, Now, please don't leave the class. We used to have a 500 uh, a, 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 a Zoom account of 500 participants, but that expired, I believe, last Sunday. And unfortunately, now it's too late for us to go and increase the limit. But nevertheless, stay in the class and attend attentively. And those who couldn't attend, they will go through the recording. And before next Sunday, we will ensure that the limit is restored to 500. Okay, so I'm going to chant a series of verses. We all have chanted these verses, and you can all stay on mute but chant behind me. I will chant it at slow pace. I will chant it once, and you can also attempt to chant. You can either refer to the Sanskrit or refer to the English, and we will each verse we will discuss very, very briefly. 2.13 देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे
देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा
देहे
कौमारं यौवनं जरा
कौमारं
कौमारं
यौवनं
जरा
जरा
तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिर्
तथा
देहान्तरप्राप्तिर्
धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति.
धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति।
Thank you so much. So this is the first verse when Krishna introduces the concept of soul, a spirit soul, the embodied soul. The Dehino is the one who is in possession of the Deha. And he's saying that that same soul, that spiritual spark, is actually passing through Kaumara Yauvanam Jara, is going through the youth, the old age, the body of the boyhood, youth, and Jara means old age. And similarly, the same soul moved to another body. When this current body become old and useless, it moves to another body. And a dhira, who is a intelligent person or a sober person, is not muhyati. No muhyati means is not bewildered by such seeing that change. So he said, it's no big deal. Why are you so confused? Because this is happening all the time inside the body, and at the end of this, when the body becomes useless, when you will destroy somebody's body, the soul will move to another body. Next verse, matra sparshastu kaunteya
मात्रा
मात्रा
स्पर्शा
स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय
कौन्तेय
शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदः
शीतोष्ण सुखदुःखः
आगमा आपायिनो नित्यास्
आगमापायिनो नित्याः
तां स्थितिक्षस्व भारत.
तां
भारत।
So this is the 14th verse. Immediately after explaining Arjuna what is body, that the body, that the people that you see have bodies and they have spiritual spark, and their spiritual spark is their real nature. Immediately Krishna says, asking Arjuna that in the performance of your duty, you will have to sometimes destroy those physical bodies. But know that the spark, spiritual spark, spirit soul cannot be killed. Knowing that, you should not you should not shy away from doing your duty of destruction of body. If it is unpleasant, still you should tolerate that sukha dukkha. Learn to tolerate while performing your duty. Sometimes those performance of duties will bring pleasurable experiences, and sometimes they may bring unpleasurable unpleasant experiences. But nevertheless, duty must be performed. Your prescribed duty must be performed in every condition. That's the constant message Arjuna will get from Lord Krishna continuously throughout Bhagavad Gita. Yam hi na vyathayante yam hi
Yamahina
vyathayante
Vyatayante
purusham Sharshabha
Purusham
Purusham
Varshabha
Purusharashtama
Sama Dukkha Sukham Dhiram
Samadukam Dhiram
Samadukashiram
So Amrutaya Kalpate.
Somrutaya
Sohamrutaya
Kalpate
Kalpate
Krishna is saying the one who can tolerate in life, one who can learn the tolerance, one who doesn't get disturbed by the happiness and distress, is certainly eligible for liberation. One who is steady in both the distress condition and happiness condition, that person becomes eligible eventually for liberation. That's a very important, significant teachings. Another beautiful verse. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित्
Nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah.
Nayam
भूत्वा भविता वा न
Bhutavana
Ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano.
अजो
Ajo
नित्यशाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो
न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे
So very beautiful statement. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So body will certainly get destroyed, but that element in your body who is keeping this body moving, that element cannot be destroyed. He is not slain when the body is slain, and body will definitely get slain. So don't be too attached to your body. That element, that element, that spirit soul who is keeping this body moving, is ajo. He's unborn, he's eternal, he's ever existing, and he's primeval. So worry about the soul while you do take care of your body, but don't be attached to your body. In the due course of time, your body will certainly get destroyed. But that element inside you, who is your real identity, who is real you, that has been existing forever. It's been unborn, it's been eternal, and it's ever existing. So identify that who you really are, and then focus on the those activities which will ultimately benefit you, rather than thinking and doing activities only for the short term benefit of the body. uh, Worry about what is going to be my ultimate destination, or what is ultimately beneficial for the soul. Worry about that and do accordingly, act accordingly. All of these instructions should push us to act in such change the course of our actions for the benefit of the soul also. Another beautiful verse. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya
वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय
navani grahanati naroparaणि
Bhavani
नवानि
Grihnati
गृह्णाति
Naroparaणि
नरोपराणि
तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्ण्यान्
Tatha
तथा
Sharirani
शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि
अन्यानि संयन्ति नवानि देहि.
अन्यानि संयाति नवानि
Navani
देहि
Dehi
So very beautiful way Krishna gives example of a person puts on new garment, giving up old one. A soul similarly accept new material body, giving up the old and useless one. Very very easy to refer, easy to understand what Krishna is saying. Another beautiful verse. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur
Jatasi
जातस्य हि
हि
ध्रुवो
ध्रुवो
मृत्युः
मृत्युर्
ध्रुवं जन्मामृतस्य च
ध्रुवं जन्ममृत
तस्माद् अपरिहार्यार्थे
तस्मादपरिहार्यर्थे
न त्वं शोचितुम् अर्हसि.
न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि
So another beautiful verse. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. Dhruvo janma mrutasya cha. So anybody who is thinking that I'm in a very happy condition now, I'm very comfortable condition right now, I'm very healthy condition right now, I'm very wealthy condition right now, time is very good for me, everything is happening according to my plan, and nothing will go wrong. Nothing will go wrong. We live as if nothing will go wrong with us. This is one of the answer question that was asked by Yaksha to Yudhishthir Maharaj, that what is most bewildering thing in this world? And he answered that every minute, every second, every kshana, there are people dying, but everyone in this world is trying to live as if they will never die. And that is that's this verse we should also remind ourselves every day that we are also going to die. Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. But that death will be that of the body, because the body has taken birth and body will die, and the soul has never taken birth and soul will never die. So how much should have how much attachment now we should continue to maintain for our body, uh, and how much attachment we should have for our soul. So our attachments will determine our investment, our actions. So how much time we all should spend in taking care of our body and the relationship, everything in relation to the body, and how much time we should spend in taking care of our soul. So that decision we will all have to take, learning these verses from Bhagavad Gita. Another beautiful verse. Athachetvam imam dharmyam
चेत्त्वम् धर्म्यम्
मिमं धर्म्यं
sangramam na karishyasi.
सङ्ग्राममं न करिष्यसि
मम न कृष्यसे
Tatah swadharmam kirtim cha
स्वधर्मं कृतिं च
hitva papam avapsasi.
वापसि
So swadharmam, if you fail to do your own prescribed duty, swadharma, then your kirti will be lost and you will definitely incur sin. So, what are our duties? What are our duties in the material world? So, if you're born as a human being, then our primary duty is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is our primary duty. If you don't do that, our life is waste anyway. After that, we will have duties around our body, connection with our body, and those also we will have to perform. As long as we continue to be inside the body, we will have to maintain the body. We will have to perform our duties according to our ashram. So, and non-performance of those duties can also incur sinful reactions. Another beautiful verse. हतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्ग्य
वाप्स्यसि स्वर्गान्
कर्तो
हतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्ग्यम्
वापसि
तो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम्
हित्वा
तो
वा
वा
भोक्ष
प्राप्स्यसि
या हित्वा वा
स्वर्गम्
जित्वा वा
हित्वा वा भक्ष्यसे महीम्
भोक्ष्यसे महीम्
भोक्ष्यतेय
तस्मात् उत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय
युद्धाय कृतिनिश्चयः.
युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः
Yeah. So Krishna is asking Arjuna, Hatova prapsasi swarga jitva va bhokshasi.
तस्मात्
No, no,
उत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय
yeah. Jitva va bhokshase mahi.
युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः
Yeah. So Hatova is if you are killed in by the enemies in this battlefield, you will still attain the heavenly planets, and you will if you conquer, you can enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, the situation that you think, oh Arjuna, is a lose-lose situation, actually is a win-win situation. Krishna is saying, either way, your enjoyment is guaranteed. Now, this is a karma kanda. Karma kanda means performing actions with with the intentions for getting something in return for our enjoyment. So that is karma kanda. At a karma kanda level, also, if you think at a karma kanda level, also, Arjuna, you should still decide to fight. Why? Because there is no loss in either case. When you go into a war, what can happen? Either you will end up killing everyone, or you will get killed. And Krishna is saying in either of the situations, you have nothing to lose because you will enjoy in both situations for certain. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Another beautiful verse where Krishna is now saying something significantly different. Let's chant this verse. Sukha dukhe same krutva
सुख दुःखे
सुखदुःखे
समे
समे
कृत्वा
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 सुख दुखे समे कृत्वा
सुख
सुख
दुःखे
दुःखे समे
समे कृत्वा
लाभा लाभ जया जयो
लाभालाभौ
लाभालाभौ जया जयो
लाभा लाभो जया जयो
लाभालाभौ
लाभालाभौ
जया
जया
जयो
जयो
ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व
ततो
तो युद्धाय
युद्धाय
युज्यस्व
युज्यस
नैवं पापम् अवाप्स्यसि
नैवं
एवं पापमवाप्स्यसि
पापमवाप्स्यसि
नैवं पापम् अवाप्स्यसि
एवं
पापम्
पापमवाप्स्यसि
अवाप्स्यसि
Okay. So, do the fight for the sake of fighting. Yeah,
लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व
Mother, can everybody go on mute? Yes. So, do the fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur sin. By so doing, you shall never incur sin. So the previous verse, the 37th verse, is Tasmad Uttishta Kantaya Yudhaya Kruti Nishchayaha. The instruction is to fight with determination. And in the second verse also, subsequent verse also, 38th verse also, Tato Yudhaya Yujyasva Naivam Papam Avapsasi. In the both verses, Krishna is asking Arjuna to fight. But there is a difference. So here, and what is that difference? You can raise hand if you can wish to contribute. So look at these two verses, that and the translation if you want to. In the first verse, he's saying, Hatova prapsasi swarga jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya kriti nishchaya. Again, instruction is to fight, but the reason for fighting is different here than the reason for fighting that he's giving in the 38th verse. Sukha dukhe same krutva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papamavasasi. So fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. Raise your hands if you wish to speak. Yes, Sulekha Savekar Mataji.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी। जो पहला श्लोक है कि हतोवा प्राप्तसी स्वर्ग, उसमें उन्होंने जो गेन बोला है वो बॉडीली गेन है, यानी जो अर्जुन जीतेंगे तो भी वो एंजॉय करेंगे बॉडीली, और मर भी जाएंगे फिर भी उनका बॉडीली एंजॉयमेंट होगा क्योंकि वो स्वर्ग प्राप्त करेंगे। और जो 2.37 है वो मुझे लगता है कि वो सोल सोल जो एज अ सोल उन्होंने कहा है कि वहां पे आपको सुख हो या आप हारो या जीतो, लाभ हो या अलाभ हो, कुछ भी हो, पर आपको कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा एज अ सोल, इसलिए आप युद्ध करो ऐसे। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु, थैंक यू।
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for giving this perspective. Lakshmi Mataji and then Kanchan Mataji.
पहला श्लोक है भौतिक है, मतलब जैसे हम लोग शरीर से तो युद्ध कर रहे हैं सब कुछ, तो वो शरीर को ही मिलेगा, वो शरीर जाएगी स्वर्ग में, जो वहां पर सब कुछ भोग करके फिर वापस आ जाएगी। मेरे सेकंड श्लोक में जब हम लोग परमात्मा का ऊपर सब कुछ रखे, हम अपना काम जो भी करेंगे तो वो काम जो है हम लोगों को तो लगेगा नहीं, जैसे लाभ लाभ हो नष्ट हो चाहे सुख हो दुख हो जो भी है, हमारी आत्मा को तो नहीं लगेगी, खाली शरीर को ही लगेगी करके। मतलब यहाँ भी उन्होंने आत्मा और शरीर का तो डिवाइड करके ही बता रहे हैं।
Mhm. Anna, I mean, which one is a higher instruction? Can you, what
सेकेंड
relationship? हाँ.
सेकेंड वन इज द हायर इंस्ट्रक्शन,
Mhm.
क्योंकि इसमें सोल मतलब किसी भी इसमें तो शरीर को तो कोई भी तो वो मतलब अपनी कर्म जो कर रहे हैं वो तो वो कर्म उसको तो लगेगा नहीं है करके तो।
कर्म उसके लगेगा नहीं. Okay, thank you, Mataji. Kanchan Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. The first sloka says that you have to perform your duty as per your karma kand, and you don't have to think of winning or dying on the battlefield because you feel that it is a lose-lose situation as per your understanding. But actually, it's a win-win situation because everything is pre-planned and you are just a nimit matra for performing your duties towards that for dharma, for establishing a dharma. And in the second verse, God is guiding him that you have to elevate from karma kanda to niskam karma yoga, which will bring you closer to me.
Okay. The two things concept Mataji spoke about is one is karma kand. Karma kand is is like a trade. And if you pay 100 rupees, you get goods worth 100 rupees, and you can enjoy those goods lawfully. So if you win as a if you win, you will enjoy. If you lose, you will still enjoy, because losing or dying on the battlefield is glorious, considered glorious for kshatriya, and then accordingly you will get birth in a higher planet, not even in this planet but a higher planet where there are higher enjoyments. So that so it's a win-win. And second situation may Mataji, as Mataji is saying, that it's a different instruction altogether. If you go to a mall and the mall people know that you have come, you are representative of the owner of that mall, and you're buying whatever you're buying is for on his behalf. He's basically everything that you are buying is going to be offered to him, given to him. Now in that situation, when you go and shop in that mall, whatever you shop, it's not billed, because it's everything belongs to the owner anyway. And if you when they know that you're going to go and offer it to the owner himself, they don't charge you. Whereas in the 37th verse, you're supposed to pay the price. You're supposed to pay, you're supposed to work hard to get money, you're supposed to pay the price and then get the goods to enjoy. So this is how the karma kanda works, and this is how devotional service work. A devotional service is performed for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So there is no personal motive involved, and hence one is neither happy nor unhappy. One is happy that one is able to serve the Supreme Lord. The service itself brings happiness. The acts of consequences of actions don't really matter. So that is the instruction. So that is a difference in the instruction. So 38th verse is a progression. So the instructions in Bhagavad Gita will be progressive. So if you stop reading Bhagavad Gita at 2.37, and it happens sometimes that in the movie, in the initial few scenes, the hero gets beaten up by the villain, and if you walk out of that theater at right at that moment, what impression you will carry? That the hero was weak and hero, so useless movie where the hero gets beaten up by the villain. But if you watch the subsequent movie, you will realize that the same hero has beaten up that villain again and defeats him completely, and then wins that, go away with that heroine towards the end of that movie. So so by not, if somebody stops reading Bhagavad Gita at 2.37, what what instruction he will carry with him? What is that ultimate instruction of Bhagavad Gita? If he stop reading Bhagavad Gita at 2.37, um, what impression he will carry with himself? What Bhagavad Gita book is about? What? Subhash Sharma, Dr. Subhash Sharma Prabhuji. I don't know whether you're raised hand for this question or the previous
Yes,
one,
sir.
but nevertheless,
Yes, sir. That Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
yes,
This
Prabhuji.
is regarding Sukha Dukhe Same Kritva Labha Labha Jaya Jayu. Basically, that is on higher pedestal because you are not worried for what you are getting or what you are not getting. It is like Isthit Pragya, means you are doing for the sake of doing because that is your righteous duty. So you have to do it. Rather than thinking of getting something in return, what you are supposed to do, you are performing your duty with the devotion. That's all. Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My second question, one subsequent question is, if somebody stops reading Bhagavad Gita at this verse, what impression will they get? Somebody asks such person who reads Bhagavad Gita only up to the 2.37th verse, and after reading Bhagavad Gita, somebody asks them, "Have you read Bhagavad Gita?" I said, "Yeah, I've read second up to second chapter sometime." And then I said, "What is the ultimate instruction of Bhagavad Gita?" What impression will they have?
So in that case, I think, in my view, it will be a dual. Either you will get this or you will get that. So I think it is not on a balance. Second one, when 2.38, when we go, I think that gives a balanced view of life. And in this, either here also, it is not a fruitless. You will get some fruit, either this fruit in this world or in the higher self in the other world. But the second one is basically it is not, you are not a selfish, selfless way. You are performing something, means what you are supposed to do, you do it for the sake of doing it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Vikas,
Krishna.
yes, somebody want to raise hand?
Yeah, Hare Krishna,
Sanjeev
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, yes.
Prabhuji, from this verse, the impression you will get if somebody reads up to only this point, he'll become a, fruitive worker, working for fruitive action. That is the impression you will get. And like they say, half-baked knowledge is dangerous. So if somebody reads up to this point, this is the result he'll draw, and he'll become a person who will work only for fruitive results. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very nice perspective. So we should have the complete knowledge. Bhagavad Gita is 700 verse. It's not terribly long. It's not terribly vast. It's small. And one should have patience to explore it completely. And if anybody really stops reading Bhagavad Gita at 2.37, he's going to get a wrong impression about Bhagavad Gita. The life instruction that he will carry is uh, is that life is meant for enjoyment. Now that we will see in the subsequent verse, that's not the case. Yoga starts with yama and niyama, and both requires performance of austerity. A very important verse that we'll discuss now is 2.39. This is a turning point in the Bhagavad Gita that the discussion is now shifting. Krishna has already taken it a level ahead with 2.38, where apparently he's contradicted himself. In 2.37, he's asking Arjuna to fight for enjoyment. Um, and in 2.38, he's saying, don't worry about enjoyment. Fight for the sake of fighting. Fight for the sake of fighting is taking his consciousness higher. At initial level, we may tell child to do this, to do your study and get a chocolate. But as a child, with the same thing which we may explain the importance of study to a child in 10th standard. The same trick may not work to some child who is in the ninth and 10th standard. So we will have to explain them the instruction, the importance of study, and how significant impact it will have on their lives if they don't study now properly. What can really happen in their life? So a chocolate study for chocolate may not always work. So at some stage you will give higher instructions also to your children. Similarly, Krishna is taking consciousness to a higher level of Arjuna. So there is Bhagavad Gita is not just one instruction. There's a progression of instructions. So when the 2.38 was spoken, the 2.37 yuddha, the instruction to fight a war for enjoyment gets defeated. So it no longer remains applicable. Though it's a statement on Bhagavad Gita, um, it is superseded by a higher instruction which comes in form of 2.38. So that hierarchy also we need to understand as we study Bhagavad Gita, that once you learn 2.38, 2.37 practically loses its importance. It's there, but it's not there. One does not have to follow that instruction. Why? Because now you got 2.38, which is a higher instruction. So there is a progression of thought, progression of instructions that happens in Bhagavad Gita, and one should be very careful, watchful of that. We shouldn't end up following an instruction which has been negated in the subsequent chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So that's therefore we should be very careful in picking up our favorite verses, because those should be such which are not really negated by Lord in the subsequent discussion. 2.39 एषाते भीता सांख्ये बुद्धि योगे त्वेमा शृणुम बुद्ध्या युक्त यया पार्थ कर्म बंध प्रहास्यसि. For the first time, Krishna has spoken about karma bandha, that there is a bondage, the work causes bondage, is karma bandha. What kind of bondage? Every action will have a reaction. Every action will produce a fruit. And that phala, karma phala, is our bandhan. Why? Because if the fruit is good, we are forced to enjoy that. The fruit is bad, we are forced to suffer on account of that. We cannot renounce the fruit. That fruit, once we perform any activity, a fruit is by default going to get generated. As long as if we perform an activity for our own sake, for our own pleasure, for our own maintenance, for on our own behalf, if we are as long as we are acting for ourselves. When we say ourselves, we include our own body, our bodies, and our own family, and our own country, our own world, everything. As long as we are acting for our own self, all our actions are going to produce a fruit. And that fruit we will be forced to enjoy or suffer, because that fruit eventually will fructify and will provide us with a reaction. And that reaction we may have to suffer or enjoy depending on what was the nature of that fruit. So this karma bandha prahasyase. Now Krishna is asking Arjuna to act in such a way that you are never bound by that karma phala. that karma, you're always remain for yourself. You can free yourself from the bondage of work. So act in such a way, act in such knowledge that you can free yourself from the bondage of work. So how is that going to happen? So Krishna says that thus far I have described this knowledge to you through the analytical study. Sankhya, Sankhya comes from the word Sankhya, and basically it means analysis. It means analysis, and Sankhya is analysis, and Sankhya Yoga is analytical study. When we actually when we analyze a person into what are we doing, what we were doing, Krishna was actually analyzing person. That you see Bhishmacharya, who is your great grandfather, but that Bhishmacharya has a spiritual spark within him. That spark, as long as that spark is there, that is his real nature. The rest, his beard, body, old body, his arms, his legs, his other eyes and ears, and all of those are called material body. And this spiritual spark is making this material body to move. So Bhishma Dev is a combination of these two. So in analysis, we separate the two. We say this is a spiritual spark. That spiritual spark will never die. And this body, which you are trying to protect, cannot be protected. This body can never be protected, and this soul can never be destroyed. So destruction is certain for the body, and and the protection is certain, guaranteed for the soul. So don't confuse yourself. Don't try to protect the body, because that body can never be protected. Eventually, in the course of time, that body will get destroyed. In the material world, everything naturally deteriorates. The fruit, the moment it ripes, from then onwards it deteriorates. Everything, human mind always thinks negatively. Gravity always pulls everything down. That's a natural tendency of the world. Uh, we always think we can always think negative very easily. We can think negatively about others, but if we have to be positive, we have to train our mind for becoming positive. If we have to if you have to fly an aeroplane, you have to work hard at that art of flying an aeroplane. There's a lot of effort that goes in to take that aeroplane against the gravity and keep it float for some time until it lands in another destination. So naturally we fall down, we deteriorate, our mentality deteriorates. So to lift it up requires effort. So, so Krishna is saying that uh, that Sankhya is analytical study, is what I was trying to explain you everything by. And now I'm going to request you to act with Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means just act intelligently. See what is temporary, what is eternal, and and work for the protection of what is eternal, rather than worrying too much about what is temporary anyway. What is temporary will be lost in due course of time anyway, so why worry too much about that? What is eternal, think how you can protect them, how you can enhance it, how you can better it. And that way, uh, shift your focus to what is important in life, and then do actions for the for that aspect which is more important in your life. So this is in simple way Krishna explains Arjuna to act in buddhi yoga. Act with buddhi, act with intelligence. A child may find the gift wrapper to be more attractive than the gift itself, but a parent will help child focus on the content of that gift rather than allowing child to play with the gift wrapper. The gift wrapper will eventually be taken away, and eventually the child can be taught to look at the gift and play with the gift itself, because that can be of much more value than the gift wrapper, even though the gift wrapper may look attractive from the child's point of view. Similarly, Krishna is diverting Arjuna's attention, uh, asking Arjuna to use your buddhi, and take care of that aspect of you which is eternal, which is more important. And if that you can do, then you will be free from any actions you perform with that consciousness. You can be free from the bondage of work. So karma bandha will not occur. The one very important instruction Prabhupada give in this purport is, the first statement of this purport is, yoga involves controlling the senses. Many of us, in the course of Bhagavad Gita, we come across many yoga teachers. The many of them claim to be yoga teachers. They're certified yoga teachers. They conduct classes online, offline. The Ashtanga Yoga process that's been recommended, that includes Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dhyana, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, the 8 steps which are involved in the yoga. And the first two are the Yama and Niyama. The first 2 steps are Yama Niyama, are the don'ts, do's and don'ts of in life, which is to be practiced in life if one has to really practice yoga in true way. What are the Yama and what are the Niyamas? Yama is external ethics, which includes ahimsa, non-harming, satya, um, asatya, uh, Asteya is responsibility, non-stealing mentality. Satya means truthfulness. Brahmacharya, all of you can hopefully understand, is practicing celibacy. And aparigraha means simplicity, generosity. These are the things one has to practice externally. What are the internal consciousness that one should develop? Shaucha, that is that is a clarity and purity. Santosha is contentment. One should always be happy. Tapasa, one should be able to perform austerities, sacrifice for others. Swadhyaya, self study. One should be able to study the scriptures. And Ishvara, pranidhana, that is surrendered service to the Ishvara, to God. Now, if we were to make these two mandatory in any yoga class, none of the yoga class will ever work. None of the ever yoga class will ever function, because these are considered in today's terms, this ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya itself, no, aparigraha, and then shaucha, santosha, tapasa, swadhyaya, ishvara, paridhana. These are impossible for people to perform. If you make it a condition that those who are practicing yama and niyama can only come and perform asana, all the yoga classes might practically become empty. Nobody will be there. Uh, so, yoga involves controlling the senses. Yoga involves controlling the senses, and that is the first lesson, that we all should carry with our own self, because whichever yoga we may practice, ultimately karma yoga, there are many yogas Krishna has spoken and discussed in the Bhagavad Gita, that karma yoga, buddhi yoga, as we just discussed, dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, hatha yoga, and ultimately bhakti yoga. All of those will involve controlling the senses. All of that will involve controlling of the senses. So some stage we should make up our mind that this is something that we will have to do. un, un Uncontrolled sense gratification that the world promotes is a royal highway to hell. uncontrolled sense gratification that the world is promoting, encouraging, inspiring everyone, all the movie stars, the advertising icons, uh, everyone is pushing the whole generation, whole population towards hell. They themselves will go there and they will carry all of us, all their followers, to the hell. Why? Because none of them understand the importance of sense control. They are the opposite of sense control is sense gratification. That whichever by whichever way and mean, try to satisfy all your desires. Try to satisfy all your desires to the extent possible again and again. This is one life. Who knows what's going to come later? So today you can eat as much as you can. Tomorrow you may not have capacity to eat only. Then you will regret that when you had capacity, you never ate. Various different justifications the world provide us for us to push towards the sense gratification, on the path of sense gratification, which is royal highway to hell. Be it sex, be it eating, be it mating, uh, be it defending, be it buying a home, buying a luxury car, be it buying a luxury vacation, be it anything, be it taking for the going to the highest course, doing highest course, getting into the IIT. There is competition that has been created for sense gratification, and platform have been provided through social media where people can showcase how great sense gratifiers they are, and that out of irsha, out of jealousy, out of natural curiosity, various ways in which in people's other people's mind these desires are planted and invoke that they should also do the same thing. And that's how the whole population is engaged, is running behind the running behind the sense gratification. Whereas Bhagavad Gita starts, the very initial stage, the first line sentence in the purport to verse 2.39 says yoga involves controlling the senses. So if we are focused too much on the sense gratification of the senses, letting all five senses loose, go whatever direction you want and enjoy whatever you want to the fullest possible extent, if that has been our philosophy, Bhagavad Gita study will teach us to do the opposite, and we should be prepared for that. We should be prepared for learning a lesson to control our senses. We may not be best at it. We may not know it. We may not know how to do it. We may not be very good at it. We may get defeated by the demands of our senses far too often. But nevertheless, one should mentally be prepared to to be in that game of controlling senses, game of game where this is the place where we now of become should become aware that the senses should be under my control. I should not be driven by my senses. I should be driving my senses wherever I want them to look at. That is what I should look. Whatever I want to hear, that is what ear should listen to. Whatever I want to taste, I may choose to taste for certain type of food stuff. I may not. I may reject certain other type of food stuff, and the tongue is forced to accept and appreciate whatever I choose to eat, not the other way around. So this way, the controlling of the senses is the beginning of study of Bhagavad Gita. If we are unable to control senses and we have no desire to control senses, study of Bhagavad Gita may remain very theoretical and will not benefit, because then you will not be able to act according to the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. You cannot become a devotee of Lord Krishna if you if you cannot if you have no desire also to control the senses. If you are completely under the influence of our senses, if you are completely driven by the demands of your senses, following Bhagavad Gita instructions may become very, very difficult for you. So this is the fundamental uh, paradigm shift that Bhagavad Gita provide us with, where it says that understand the importance of controlling the senses. Soul is the master of the senses. Soul is not the slave of the senses. Senses should not dictate terms with a soul. It should be the other way around. A soul should tell, read Bhagavad Gita verses. A soul, and then eyes should try to read those Bhagavad Gita verses. A soul should tell the mind what to do, what not to do. Not soul shouldn't be under the dictation of the mind that I want to do this, I want to do that. And then the senses provide us with the facility, whatever the demands mind provides. So this is a paradigm shift that Bhagavad Gita thought flow has from the worldview, general worldview that we see in the world, the advertising world, the movie world, the sports world, the political world, where everyone is trying to feel and act as if they are in control, and therefore all their desires are driven towards the gratification of their senses. Opposite to that are the student of Bhagavad Gita who are trying to control their senses, who are trying to restrain their senses. They want to fast on Ekadashi day. They want to fast on Janmashtami day. They want to go to temple on important days at least, so that they can bow down in front of Lord. They can show Lord that they are insignificant. They are not very important. Whatever they possess is actually what has been given by God. And they will bow down in front of devotees to tell them that, indicate to them that how indicate to them how insignificant they are. Uh, and that's the real position. And once you understand, realize that real position, you will bow down with lot of respect, lot of gratitude towards Lord in front of deities. but no, but so this is how this is how, this is the verse. That's why the Prabhupada says that this verse actually brings the paradigm shift in the thought process. Up till now, Bhagavad Gita has the knowledge that Bhagavad Gita has been given is been very logical, but at a very basic level. Now the discussion is going to go deeper. We will see in the purport Arjuna's proposal. Prabhupada writes in the purport of verse 2.39 that yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers, the sons of Dhritarashtra. In both ways, the basic principles were that for sense gratification. Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper. And he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individuals in the future also. Because all of us are individual souls eternally. We simply change our bodily dress in the different manners, but actually we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of the material dress. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna. And this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya in terms of Nirukta dictionary. The description of the in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glance. Now, now Prabhupada goes on to explain how the creation has happened. How the creation has happened by explaining how Lord created in this particular purport. Very beautiful description. That Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. All these souls are working in the material world for sense gratification, and under the spell of energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. This mentality is dragged to the last point of liberation when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of Maya or sense gratificatory illusion, and it is only after many, many births of such sense gratificatory activities that a great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, thereby fulfilling the search after the ultimate truth. Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Shishyaste aham shadhi matvam prapannam. So, consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in which Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga, or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. Practicing devotional service for the sense, for the pleasure of the Lord, for the sense gratification of the Lord, not for self, but for the Lord. This is Buddhi Yoga, is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being direct communication with the Lord, who is who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communication does not take place without devotional service. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dudami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. 10.10. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. By which they can come to me. The one who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to this stage of Buddhi Yoga by special grace of the Lord. So, the Lord says, therefore, that only those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, devotees can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God. One should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is a much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification for achieving results in terms of family and material happiness. Buddhi Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. So Krishna, Prabhupada explains the difference between sense gratification and then of the self and the sense gratification of the Lord. So as long if we work for the pleasure of Lord as per his instruction, then such work will not cause bondage in the material world. Just like we saw in the example of mall, as long as you are purchasing everything to offer it to the owner of the mall, there is no bondage because you don't get billed. Owners, everything that is going to the owners is he owns the store. So whatever is there in the store is his, and therefore when you pick up things for offering it to the owner, and when you go to the billing counter, you don't have to pay anything. You don't have to pay anything. And then, but that consciousness, the moment that consciousness changes, the moment you decide this is for me, this is for him, then whatever is for you, you will have to pay the price. That becomes that is the difference. So as long as you are working for the pleasure of Krishna, whatever actions you perform, those are free from karmic reactions. The moment you change your consciousness and say that this is for my enjoyment, whatever those actions, if those can be very good actions also, even if those are good actions, those will yield a those will yield a fruit, and you'll be forced to accept the fruit of the karma phala of your karma. If that is done in the proper way, you may the fruit that you will get can be good, and for that you will have to enjoy. If it is done in unethical, illegal way, the fruit that you might become entitled to can be bad, and for that you will have to suffer in the material world. But in either case, you will be forced to take accept another body to either enjoy or suffer the fruits of your karma. Therefore, Prabhupada is asking us to perform karma for the pleasure of Krishna, which will not yield any fruit, which will not give you any karma bandha. This is called great art of doing work. That work in such a way that you will not incur any karma phala. There's no karma phala. You may shop in such a way you don't have to pay. You know how attractive such this offer sounds also. Similarly, act in such a way that there is no karma phala, and that is also very attractive because that makes you eligible to go back to Krishna. The last verse we will discuss today is 2.40. नेहा भिक्रमनाशोस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्व अल्पम इति अस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्. Beautiful verse. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Activity in Krishna consciousness, or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. Acting for the benefit of Krishna, for giving pleasure of Krishna, is considered to be the highest work. Even what is the sense gratification? You know, what is sense gratification? The general understanding of sense gratification means indulging senses in the sensual activities. Means eyes engaging eyes in seeing, engaging skin in touching the soft beautiful objects, engaging ears in listening, engaging tongue in either talking or tasting something, engaging your nose in smelling something. So when you engage your senses into action, it's generally known as sense gratification. And if you see this, that is very gross form of sense gratification, where you are actually seen as doing things. But that is not enough. Sense gratification can be subtle also. For example, um, my desire to have honor, respect. People should respect me. People should honor me. People should recognize me. People should appreciate me. And if I have very longing desire for these things, which is not visible from the outside, you know, when I go, I want people to honor me. I want people to respect me. Now, my desire for honor and respect is not visible from the outside, but these are inner desires. They are also examples of lust. They are also examples of sense gratification. When people don't give me honor and respect, I feel bad about it. And when people give me honor and respect, I feel good about it. So this is what I expect people to do to me when when I interact with them. Appreciation, recognition. These are another examples of when I have innate, when I have a very strong desire for these things, and when I don't get them, I feel extremely bad. I feel it leads to lamentation and frustration. When I get them, I feel very happy about it. So this is called subtle form of sense gratification. This is also sense gratification in subtle way. equally equally dangerous that than what we have in the the first, the direct engagement of senses and the sense object, that is one way of sense enjoyment, and this is also equally dangerous type of sense enjoyment. uh, then what should how should be our actions, how should be our activities in Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada defines here that activity in Krishna consciousness means acting for the benefit of Krishna without any expectation. Acting for the benefit of Krishna without any expectation. This is again explained in another beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which we discussed in the previous session. Savai pumso paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshajay ahetuki apratihata yatmasu prasidati. The supreme occupation, supreme dharma of for all humanity is that by which men can attain the loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. 1.2.6. So Prabhupada write in the further in the purport that even a small beginning of such activity find no impediment, nor can that small beginning can be lost at any stage. Any work begin at a material plane has to be completed, otherwise whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begin in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at a loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. For example, one is I'm a chartered accountant, and many student try to become chartered accountants. They get graduated, they come to inter foundation, they give inter CA, and then they give final CA, and then they pass. So the format keep changing all the time, but essentially this is how it happens. But so suppose if somebody has done his BCom and come to inter CA and finish inter CA and have not been able to clear final CA examinations again and again, and if such person leaves his body, and when the next body, he cannot begin from the inter CA level. He cannot say that I finished my inter CA and in my previous birth, so now I am directly eligible to give my final CA exam. Such arguments will not be accepted, are not acceptable. Why? Because he will be forced to go to play school and start right from the beginning and again come to the point of becoming inter CA qualified to be able to appear for the final CA exam. So all that hard work that he had performed is lost. So a material activity has to be completed in the same lifetime. It cannot be brought forward. There's no carry forward allowed. But opposite to that is the other activities, that work we begin in Krishna consciousness. That has a permanent effect. Even though not finished in this life, you continue from where you left off in the previous life. Prabhupada gave example in the purport that 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent result, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%, whereas in the material activity without 100% success there is no profit. Even if you become 100% success, you pass CA final exams also, in the next birth, this becomes zero. Again you need to go and start from the play school. Even if you finish your actions in the current lifetime itself, from the next birth point of view, they have zero meaning. It has zero meaning, because it will not be considered in the next life. So that's why it's of no use. Prabhupada give example of a Jamil in this purport, that perform his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. So Ajamil pastime comes in the sixth canto of Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, and wherein Ajamil was a Brahman boy. Ajamil was a born in a Brahmanical family, a learned Brahmanical family, a learned Brahmana. He knew the purpose of life. He knew that he is not the body, he is soul. He knew the science of God. He knew all of that, and not only he knew that, he was practicing Brahmana. He had his sadhana. There are two aspects. One is in like just like how we have science. Science has a theory and a practical. Similarly, in spirituality, we have philosophy and we have sadhana practice. Sadhana practice requires you to perform certain activities to realize this philosophy. The experiment is on us, happening on us, that we are the object of experiment and we offer ourselves for experiment, and then we realize the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. The philosophy we knowledge or the knowledge which is given in the philosophy is realized when you perform experiment on your own self. So you are the subject and you are the object of experiment. So you realize after performing experiment on yourself, you realize the philosophy, and that cements your faith in the philosophy, and you move further, progress further in the Krishna consciousness. So Ajamil was not an ordinary man who didn't knew anything. He was a learned Brahmana. But once his father sent him to the forest to bring some dry wood for yajna, he saw a prostitute embracing her lover in jungles. And ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसा संगस्तेषु उपजायते. He couldn't, his eyes remain engaged in watching the scene. He didn't took his eyes away in time, and then he got hooked in that in the got captivated in that situation. So much so that after returning from the jungle, he brought that same prostitute to his home. He um, he he threw away all both his he removed from his home both his parents, old parents, as well as his young wife, and he married himself. He got married to this prostitute from the jungle, and with this prostitute he produced many children. And now he lost all his Brahmanical qualities and was forced to feed his family by doing all kind of activities. He performed all kind of sinful activities to earn some money to feed the family. He had a long, big family, and his youngest son was named as Narayana. Once his wife was pregnant with this youngest son, and Ajamil was not at home. And then few sadhus came in that village, and they were searching for some place to stay overnight. And then they inquired with the villagers that is there a place where they can stay, and the villagers sarcastically directed them to the home of Ajamil. That they say that, oh, one very big Brahmana lives here, and you can definitely go to his home and take shelter there for tonight, and he will be able to serve you very nicely. The sadhus didn't really sadhus went to that home, and at that time Ajamil was not present, and sadhu saw the whole situation, and and they understood that his wife is carrying a son, and then they bless her, and they requested her to name their son as Narayana. Name their son as Narayana. And the son was eventually born in due course of time, and they, as requested, as told by the sadhus, they named their son as Narayana. And from that moment onwards his japa began. His chanting of Lord's name began, indirectly though, but began, because he was very attached to this his son, the youngest son Narayan. He was so sweet. Every now and then Ajamil will think about his son, and he will call for his name, Narayan, Narayan, Narayan ne ye kya kya, Narayan ne wo kya kya, where is Narayan, when he will come back, when Narayan will go, when Narayan will eat, when Narayan will sleep, what Narayan is doing now, not now, what Narayan is doing later. Narayan, 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 Narayan. Ajamil kept chanting this name day in, day out, so much so that he got used to call out this name all the time. Eventually, the moment of death came, and thanks to his all sinful react activities done for long time, four Yamadutas appeared on the scene. They said he's our customer. We have to take him. We have to take him to the Yamaraj, and he should get punished because they had a big account, big long list of all the sinful activities done by Ajamil. And seeing Yamadutas approaching him, instantly Ajamil called out for his youngest son, Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. And our acharyas explained that as he was chanting the name Narayan, he realized also that the young son Narayan is not may not be able to really protect him from these four horrible looking, powerful looking Yamadutas who are approaching him. And that around that time, Ajamil's consciousness shifted from the name Narayan to original Narayan. He was practicing brahmanam. He had the knowledge. He had the knowledge. It was just got covered by the lust and lustful activities, the sense gratificatory activities. It's not, knowledge does not get destroyed. Sinful activities may cover, just like cloud may cover sun for some time. Similarly, our sinful activities, sinful actions, sinful sense gratificatory desires may cover the real knowledge for some time. But the moment we make an effort, we can remove these clouds, we can move away these clouds, we can again make the knowledge shine. The sun of this knowledge shines. So similarly, when Narayan, when he was chanting the name of his son Narayan, um, he also realized very quickly that his son may not be able to protect him from these Yamdutas, and his shift, his object initially was his son, but eventually become the original Narayana because he had practiced devotional service in his life. He knew the importance of the Lord Narayana also. And as the Yamadutas were coming closer to him, his consciousness got fully absorbed in thinking about Lord Narayan. And therefore, at the same very moment, Vishnudutas appeared on the scene and they stopped instantly Yamadutas, uh, who were trying to take this soul out of this body. And then happened a very beautiful conversation between Yamadutas and Vishnudutas. Yamadutas were convinced that he is their customer. He must go to Yamaloka. He has done all kind of sinful activities. What is it that he has not done? So, and they were surprised and shocked to see Vishnudutas also appearing on the scene. It has never happened before. There is no passing, their path never really crossed. Vishnudutas will not come to a sinful person, and Yamadutas will not go closer to a pious person. So they knew their territories. It's not that they were oblivious. They didn't knew what the dharma is. Dharmaraj is one of the acharya of Krishna consciousness. So Yamaraj is one of the acharya, uh, one of the acharyas of Krishna consciousness. So he has perfect knowledge. He is one of the Mahajanas. And Yamadutas learn from him. So it's not that Yamadutas, though they were looking horrible, they didn't had knowledge. They had perfect knowledge. And with that knowledge, they were trying to argue with the Vishnu Dutas how he is their fit customer. And Vishnu Dutas, on the contrary, uh, gave Yamadutas the real knowledge. We'll go through this brief description in the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the Srimad Bhagavatam summary of this chapter, and to understand, and then we will conclude this class by discussing about what learnings we can take from this pastime. So pay attention. Ajamila performed his duties in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. Vishnudutas explained to Yamadutas the glories of chanting the name of Lord name of the Lord. The Vishnu Duta said, now impious acts are being performed even in an assembly of devotee. For a person who is not punishable is going to be punished in the assembly of Yamaraj. The mass of people are helpless and must depend upon the government for their safety and security. But if the government takes advantage of this to harm the citizens, where will they go? We see perfectly that Ajamila should not be punished, although you are attempting to take him to Yamaraj for punishment. It was due to Ajamil's glorifying the name, the holy name of the Supreme Lord, that he was not punishable. The Vishnu Dutas explained this as follows: simply by once chanting the holy name of Narayana, this Brahmana has become free from the reactions of sinful life. Indeed, he has been freed not only from the sins of this life, but from the sins of many, many thousands of other lives. If one atones according to the directions of the Shastra, one does not actually become free from sinful reactions. But if one chants the holy name of the Lord, even a glimpse of such a chanting can immediately free one from all the sins. Chanting the glories of the Lord's holy name awakens all good fortune. Therefore, there is no doubt that Ajamila, being completely free from all sinful reactions, should not be punished by Yamraj. The Brahmana Ajamil, however, offered his respectful obeisances to the Vishnu Dutas. He could understand how fortunate he was to have chanted the holy name of Narayana at the end of his life. Indeed, he could realize the full significance of this good fortune. Having thoroughly understood the discussion between Yamadutas and the Vishnu Dutas, he became a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He lamented very much for how very sinful he had been, and he condemned himself again and again. Finally, because of his association with the Vishnu Dutas, Ajamila, his original consciousness aroused, gave up everything and went to Haridwar, where he engaged in devotional service without deviation, always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, the Vishnu Dutas went there, seated him on the golden throne, and took him away to Vaikuntha Loka. In summary, although the sinful Ajamila meant to call his sons the holy name of the Lord Narayana, even though chanted in the preliminary stage of Namabhasa was able to give him liberation. Therefore, one who chant the holy name of the Lord with faith and devotion certainly exalted. He is protected even in his material condition life. Quick activity for ourselves. We are approaching 1 o'clock, but let's hear from at least couple of devotees. Uh, what are the key learnings we can take away from this pastime? What are the key learnings we can take away from this pastime? We'll give a minute. Yes, Dr.
God.
Sharma.
He, you surrender everything to God, and God will take care of us. You take His name all the time. He'll take us with Him, with our happiness and goodness. That's the main learn to our.
Okay. Yes, Maheshwar Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Dr. Subhash Sharma Prabhuji, and then Ashwini
Hare
Shukla.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
It is written there, Apitu Ajamil Gaj Ganikau Bhaye Mukta Hari Bhajan Prabhavu. So whenever we are chanting the name with the devotion, it is actually taking closer to the Godhead and to the God. So it's a practice. He was lucky, Ajamil was lucky in a sense because he had done devotion earlier. Otherwise, if we are not practicing in the last moment, it is difficult for us to recall that name. So when we are doing this devotion continuously, then there is every probability that in the last moment also we'll remember the Godhead Narayana, and then we'll be liberated from this world. So that is my learning. Thank you. Hare Krishna
Thank you
Prabhuji.
so much, Roji. Hare Krishna. Very nice, Roji. Kanchan Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So I think that the main learning is we should actively and consciously aspire yoga, which is bhakti yoga, especially in the adverse situation while Ajamil was having an adverse situation in the forest and he lost his yoga practice. And because of that, he suffered so many things in life. And second is we should chant the name of Lord, even if it is in the ignorant phase or we are chanting not knowing the importance of it, it still will reap the fruit in a positive manner.
Okay. Thank you so much. Vikas Roji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So, in this scenario only in Bhagavatam, two beautiful verses comes, Prabhuji, which actually tells that what is the importance of the holy name of Lord. That even as he was, as you beautifully told us, that he was just chanting the name of his son and not of the Lord Narayan, but his purification was going on. So, um, there comes that even if someone is taking the name of Lord jokingly or to indicate something or in some other way which is even bereft of devotion, then also he can be like uplifted his consciousness, or then he also can attain the love of attain the Vaikuntha planets. So what to talk about means that gives us the immense faith, the immense determination to chant the holy name or to perform the devotional service more and more seriously with more and more serious endeavors to the lotus feet of the Lord. So that is what was coming to my mind.
Okay. Thank you
Hare
so much.
Krishna.
Vasavi Soma and then Vaishnavi.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Whatever the small steps we take towards Krishna will not be wasted. It will be carried forward to the other Janmas also, unlike the material actions we do.
Okay. Yeah. Very
Thank
nice.
you, Guruji.
Thank you. Vaishnavi.
Even there are chances that a practicing devotee, and what to speak of Brahmana, of falling down if the rules are not followed rightly. But even if there is a fall down, the bhakti which is performed can be utilized somewhere next time according to Lord's will.
Okay. Bhakti is never lost, even if we also might fall down if we. So it talks about the association. There was a word that he remembered everything in the association of Vishnu Dutas, and in the association of that prostitute, he forgot everything. What it teaches us about the association. Uh,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
yes, Swapnil,
So
I think has his hand. Swapnil Baji, you want to speak about the association?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Association is very important. That's what we have been understanding. And that is the guidance and gives us the Satmarg towards our goal towards Krishna consciousness. But one lesson I wanted to talk about that we saw from this that in this materialistic world, the lust is all over. And this lust will tempt you to deviate. So, in the same case, we saw Ajamil got deviated because he got tempted to the lust and he fell prey to that lust. So, with this example, probably we should also try and learn that in case we see things around us, we should remember our path, and we should remember that this is materialistic world, this is illusion, and this will not take us anywhere. So this is the lesson I feel we should also take it from Ajamil's story. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dada Pranav. Mili Mataji, you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, what I learned from this is कृष्णा ऑलवेज लव्स हिज डिवोटीज. हम उन्हें भूल सकते हैं बट वो हमें नहीं भूल सकते. तो Jamil get deviated from his path of devotion, but Krishna gave him a reason to recall him. It is all Krishna's plan to send the sadhus to his house to name his son Narayan. So Krishna gave him a way to remember him, that you are what you are and what you become. So come back to devotion. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Very nice perspective, right? That Krishna never stopped loving his devotees. Even if devotees don't want Krishna to be loved, don't want to love Krishna, Krishna never forgets his devotees and whatever devotion that they have done. Nice perspective. Yes, sir. Sanjeev Prabhuji, then Ashwini Shukla Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. My learning or takeaway, actually, I have a different perspective from this pastime, which I just want to share, which is that, perhaps one should have experienced or gone through all the experiences of the material world in order to be able to overcome them. Otherwise, there's always the danger of a fall down, as in the case of Ajamil. I mean, the scriptures also say somewhere, one should have learned the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side in order to overcome the cycle of birth and death. So this fall down, if somebody's a celibate, perhaps from the beginning of his life, or brahmachari right from the beginning, he has probably a greater chance of a fall down as compared to a householder who's gone through all the experiences of life. So I think this is important to overcome, that you should have actually also experienced it in the first place. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhuji, the reference that you made, the Nisans, and the knowledge of the Nisans and the knowledge of devotion, both becomes helpful hand in hand. So that reference comes in Ishopanishad verses, wherein, but the context is slightly different. There, the context is that the you will need material knowledge and you will need spiritual knowledge. Why material knowledge is required? Because if you have to live a life of say 70 years, 80 years, you will have to perform activities in the material world for your subsistence and maintenance. So utilizing knowledge, skills and talents and abilities given to you by Krishna, you navigate through this material world and create a system by which you can subsist and survive for those 80 years. After having done that, you need spiritual knowledge in order to perform bhakti, to take your uplift your consciousness and direct it towards Krishna. So in the Ishopanishad verses, one of the verses it says that that you need both. That if you have one, it says that it's a three verse series. First verse says that if you have material knowledge, you go into the darker regions of ignorance. If you have spiritual knowledge, if you go to the deeper, much deeper knowledge of ignorance, and by using both material knowledge and spiritual knowledge, one can navigate through this ocean and attain your ultimate purpose. So the first verse focuses on only doing the material activities. Second verse focus on doing the pseudo spirituality. And the third verse talks about using both material as well as spiritual to go towards Krishna. That is how the context. So, but the point is taken that unless one has experienced the miseries of the material world, sometimes we don't appreciate the glories of spiritual world. So to that extent, your point is really valid. That unless if we have experienced the, because the Dukhalaya Mashashvatam verse, Mamupetya Punarjanma Dukhalaya Mashashvatam. Krishna is saying that here, that those souls who are surrendered to me does not want to return to this material world which is full of dukkha and which is temporary, full of misery and which is temporary. Why they do not want to return? because having now experienced the miseries of the material world, and after after performing devotional service in by very working very hard on their devotional service, they have gone back to the spiritual world now. So originally everyone was in the spiritual world. Some of us have fallen into this material world, and after great effort one go back to the spiritual world. Now after having returned to the spiritual world, and one continues to remember the miserable condition that one went through while they were in the material world, and remembering those miserable conditions, one does not want to come back. So that the 8.14 verse, Mamupetya Punarjanma Dukhalayam Shashvatam, actually says this, the same point, that you're saying that by remembering the miserable conditions that one has experienced in the material world while during our stay in the material world, one does not want to return here. And then your appreciation for the spiritual world and the Lord increases manyfold. It's like unless you have seen the darkness, you don't appreciate light. So similarly, unless you, by seeing these miseries, by experience, remembering these miserable conditions, one will appreciate the spiritual world more, and then one will be more determined not to return here, not to make the same mistake. So thank you so much for bringing that perspective. Ashwini Kumar Shukla Praji, last comment, and when we conclude.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। तो प्रभु जी, इसमें अजामिल के पास टाइम से सबसे बड़ी लर्निंग तो यह है कि हम चाहे जितनी भी पतित अवस्था में हो, भगवान का नाम जो है हमें हमारे हमेशा वो उद्धार ही करता है। मतलब जिस भी स्थिति में वहां से आपको ऊपर उबारता है और भगवान की तरफ लेके जाता है। जैसे जब ये विष्णुदूत और यमदूतों के बीच में मतलब विचार वो हो रहा था कि आप कैसे, इसने तो बहुत सारे पाप किए हैं और मतलब इतनी वो है। तो विष्णुदूत ने ये कहा कि जो जैसे अग्नि का कार्य है कि जलाना, वैसे ही भगवान के नाम का वो है कि वो उद्धार करेगा। जैसे अग्नि अगर बच्चे ने गलती से भी लगाई तब भी वो आग भयावह हो जाएगी और आग जला देगी, चाहे जानबूझ के लगाई गई हो या अनजाने में लगाई गई हो। उसी तरह तब उन्होंने कहा कि इसी तरह भगवान के नाम का जो महिमा है वो ये है कि वो किसी भी अवस्था में किसी भी आत्मा का उद्धार करती है। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु, धन्यवाद।
Hare Krishna. Yes,
धन्यवाद।
thank you for sharing this beautiful perspective that it will always work. We should not give up the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna. And just a fire will always burn, no matter if it is done by mistake, also it will burn. Similarly, this will act, and we should, and so instead of one is it's an extreme example of mercy shown by Lord. In one sense. So Bhagavatam, there are many devotees who have a lot of realizations, but the Bhagavatam contains some examples which are extreme examples at times. They're not ordinary examples. Similarly, is the example of Baki or Putana, extreme example of merciful nature of Lord. It's not that one should approach, one should copy Putana. One should try. It's the learning is not that even if you are uh, if you can do all kind of nonsense activities, but just approach Lord in a motherly affectionate way and he will deliver you. It's not the point. Similarly, in case of Ajamil, it's not a license to do sinful activities that one that shouldn't be the learning. The learning is if Ajamil can get so much benefit by unintentional chanting, just imagine how much more benefit we can get by intentional chanting, by cultivating intentional, loving, devotional service towards Lord. So how much more mercy that we can get. So and that's a glory of the holy name. Glory of the holy name is from that how glorious the holy name is, how glorious Lord is, how merciful Lord is, how eager Lord is. All the points were very beautifully made by many, many devotees. And I encourage everyone to also think and raise hand and share your perspective. What can we learn from the Ajamil pastime? All of you should be having a view or thought on this, and we need an open forum to share our thoughts. And you can feel free to send me a WhatsApp message expressing yourself. All of those who could not speak, feel free to send me a WhatsApp message expressing what you think is more important, and yours can be a completely different perspective. In the case of a putana pastime, there's a description that comes in the Bhagavatam pastime that Lord closed his eyes, and then there are different explanations talking about discussing this particular action by Lord, that why Lord chose to close his eyes. And different acharyas have come up with different reasons, and there are as many as 21 reasons that are available in the current scriptures. And somebody asked that why 21 reasons? Why it's not this or that? Why it's not black and white? Why we have to have 21 reasons and all seems to be parallelly valid? Not that if this is valid, then the other becomes invalid. All seems to be true. And then the devotee, the senior devotee said, the Lord can have 21, not just 21 reasons, they can have 21,000 reasons. And all of those can be, simultaneously true. Just like Lord was, dragging mortar after being tied by Yashoda Maya to the mortar, he started dragging mortar. Why? One may say he want to play with the mortar. One may say that, oh, he remembered that Narad Muni had cursed, and the two sons of Kuvera who are standing in his courtyard as Arjuna tree, it's time he showed them their mercy, showed them his mercy, and therefore he started grinding mortar. Now, all of those reasons can be true, and ultimately Lord achieved both the purposes. He played with that mortar, and also he took that mortar through that those two trees, and those two trees fell apart, and these two boys emerged, sons of Kuvera emerged from those trees. They paid obeisances, they circumvented the Lord and begged for forgiveness for all their offenses towards his devotee Lord Narad Muni, and then they went away. And Lord was just looking at them, smiling, and did nothing. So he could have multiple reasons for one action. We can't comprehend all of those today. All of those are forever, but he can have, and he will know. So we should be just appreciative of that greatness of our Lord, and surrender ourselves wholeheartedly to his devotional service. So Lord is always glorious. Lord is glorious. Krishna is glorious. His name, form, pastimes, and his dham is glorious. Anything and everything that is connected with him is glorious. Actions performed for his satisfaction only will give us permanent results. All other actions for our own satisfaction will be lost in due course of time. And ultimately, when this body will be lost, again it will be lost. Hence, we should become more intelligent and and engages ourselves fully in the loving devotional service of the Supreme Lord Krishna. By unintentional chanting of holy name, if Ajamila can get so much benefit, imagine how much benefit, how much mercy we can get by engaging in intentional loving devotional service. So let us become devotees of Lord Krishna to perfect our life and purify our life. So we conduct chanting session every morning on Zoom, and I request everyone to attend these sessions every day. Participate, lead japa for one round, sing Mangala, sing some prayers. We sing one prayer at the 7 a.m. and participate in singing those prayers also, some Vaishnava bhajans also, and then participate in Zoom meetings as well. Towards every evening, we have reading sessions, reading of Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita from 8:30 to 9:15. Vikas Prabhuji uh, very, very diligently lead both these sessions every day along with Ravi Prabhuji, Amish Prabhuji, and other senior devotees, some senior devotees and some other devotees. But it's for our benefit. I think it will be great if we can participate, all of us, in these wonderful sessions. We'll pause here and see if there are any questions at this point. Uh, yes, Swapnil Prabhuji, we can start with you with the questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, question is like we born as an human and we get a chance to liberate ourselves from this cycle of death, life and death. But whenever I am around, I see a lot of miserable people who born as humans, but they they don't have any inclination towards any bhakti or anything, nor they are directly responsible for anything. Now, how do we approach these people? Should we help them or should we leave them with their miseries, saying that probably they are because of their past karmas? So how do we? Because this always touches me, uh, and uh, particularly with respect to small kids whom we see around neck and corners. So how do we really tackle this? And is it our failure, the society failure, or it is because of their entirely because of their past karmas, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dharatana Prabhuji. So, who is in which condition? Prabhupada says that at one place that we all are supposed to fly our own aeroplanes. So if your aeroplane is not flying and if you're kind of looking miserable in today, um, who is responsible for it? It's certainly they themselves are responsible. Somebody has become a beggar on the street, born with HIV, cancer at young age of 5, diagnosed with all of that. They all have a baggage from the past life, which is showing up today in their current birth. So to our eyes, we just see their child was born, and at the age of 5 and 6 and 10, they've been diagnosed with HIV and cancer and is leading a miserable life, or they've been born under the flyover and have no knowledge of who their father and mother are, and have been begging on the street, looking very miserable and leading a very miserable condition of life. So at one hand, they themselves are, it's true that they themselves are responsible for creating whatever life that they are living today. But as a society, as a society, all of us are also, some have some responsibility towards it. So we should be all of us are supposed to do our duty in every situation. What is our duty in this situation? We have a program called Annadan. Now, Annadan is distributing Krishna Prasad to those people who otherwise do not have access to God. We sing a prayer before Prasad that Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Swalpa Punya Vatan Rajan Vishwasa Naiva Jayate. This Swalpa Punya is the pious credit that one possesses are Swalpa or Kshina or very, 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 very small in quantity. Now, by feeding people with prasad, you are simply trying to increase that balance. That balance, once it increases, then you can. This prayer says that Narad Muni says that then your faith, you can then have faith in the holy name and the Brahmanas and the Lord Govinda himself. Those whose punya is very kshina. They cannot understand the philosophy. They cannot. They just live life like a animal. So, if possible, if it is in our control, if it is possible for us, we should give everyone prasad. We should carry some prasad with us, dry prasad with us, and feed people with prasad. Prasad is food offered to Krishna. Krishna accepts it. Krishna accepts it and return it to us, back to us. And when so which has been the food which has been touched by Lord is considered non-different than Lord Himself. By giving such food to people, you're establishing a connection with those people and Lord. You're connecting those people with Lord. And by that connection, their punya balance can start accumulating, increasing. Will you be able to turn them around in one lifetime? May not be. If they get mercy from Lord, they may become pure devotee of Lord in this lifetime itself. But in due course of time, definitely they will come back to Krishna. Why? Because they have now, by constantly eating prasad every day, their prasad, their punya has started, the spiritual credits have started increasing. And eventually, those spiritual credits will bring them to Krishna, will increase, will cement their faith in Krishna, and they will eventually understand Krishna and they will come to Krishna. So we can have different, we may want to change the world, but it may not be possible for us to do that. So what we can do, what we have capacity to do, we must do. And to that extent, if we have the ability to feed prasad to 10 people, we should do that. And that will help them get connected with Krishna and eventually come back to Krishna. So what we can do in every situation can be different. If we cannot do anything, we can simply pray for those people. Uh, that let their miserable condition end. But it's not that we have created those miserable conditions. They themselves have created, and if unless they change their actions, for them the way out is very very difficult. But by simply connecting them with Krishna, by feeding them with prasad, which typically nobody will say no to, by feeding people with prasad, you're reopening their opportunity. You're recreating an opportunity for them to come back to Krishna, because this is how their punya balance will increase, their spiritual pious credits will eventually increase. And when they increase substantially, their faith in Krishna will be easily established. And with that faith, they can take up to the practice of Hare Krishna, chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra and following for regulative principle. They can go back to Krishna in one lifetime. So what we can do can be different in different situations, but this is a very broad understanding, broad answer to your question. How you can connect them with Krishna. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshate. So if you can do that for them, that can be great service. Vaishnavi
Hare
and
Krishna,
Sanjeev Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Dandavat
you.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in the case of Kota Haridas, Lord rejected him on his account of lustful activities. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that even if a person who is engaged in devotional service and if he commits abdominal activities, still he is saintly. But here again, in the case of Ajamil, Lord accepted him. But in case of Haridas, like why did Mahaprabhu rejected him? Like these two situations.
So, apichetu sudracharo bhajante mam anya bhag. Uh, One is if one commits, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he's engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated with determination. Um, I don't frankly know the pastime of Chota Haridas, so I'll not be able to answer this specific question about Chota Haridas. But a general principle here is as long as you're engaged in devotional service, you may have performed certain actions and not which are not according to the instructions of the shastras, but as long as you are continue to perform devotional service, which is predominantly the hearing and chanting of the holy name, you are never rejected, even though externally Mahaprabhu might have rejected him, but you are never rejected. You are never rejected by Krishna. In fact, Krishna goes to any extent in retrieving his devotees. We also see that in the pastime of Gajendra, where Krishna says, Gajendra himself says that, "Oh Lord, you never stop trying to retrieve a devotee." And that you try, you never give up on any devotee. You never give up on any devotee. Anyone who has chanted your name once, you don't give up on them ever, and you continuously try and retrieve that devotee, try and get that devotee back into the devotional path so that they can perform devotional service and come back to him. So you don't give up on any devotee ever at all. And that is the principle that we have seen. If somebody, as long as one continues to chant Hare Krishna, as long as one continues to read Bhagavad Gita, remain in devotion, association of devotees, one may go up, one sadhana may go up and down, but once as long as one is doing these things, one Lord will never give up on anyone. That's his promise, and that stays. The Bhagavad Gita, the rules of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita is like a rule book. Even Lord has spoken those verses with full knowledge. And Lord, when he says that Name Bhakta Pranashyati, Arjuna Prati Janehi Name Bhakta Pranashyati, he says that with full knowledge and full responsibilities. And he ensures that none of the devotees he's permanently giving up on. So he continues to find ways and means for reclaiming his devotees always. Okay, how he will do it in the pastime will be different for different people, but he will personally never give up on any devotee. Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji, understood. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sanjeev Prabhuji, and then Vikas Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for such a wonderful session. Prabhuji, one of your earlier slides, mentioned that the yoga system involves controlling the senses. But Bhakti Yoga actually talks of, as per my understanding, rather than controlling the senses, engaging the senses. Engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. Artificially trying to control the senses, we have seen even great sages like Vishwamitra succumbed to Menaka. So perhaps rather than controlling the senses, it would be engaging the senses. And if you could please guide us and explain the subtle difference between the two. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. It's a very nice question, and you're right. The word, the 61st verse of Bhagavad Gita, wherein in the purport Prabhupada give example of Ambarish Maharaj, how he engaged his senses in the satisfaction service of the Lord. How all of his senses were engaged in the service of the Lord. In that verse, Krishna is saying that essentially that the what is the objective of control senses? Okay, if somebody is contesting for Miss India contest, she's also trying to control her senses. Okay, she's not able to eat whatever she wants whenever she wants. She's forced to wake up early, follow a regime of exercise, and make sure that she maintains a perfect body, perfect figure in such a way that she becomes eligible for participation and ultimately, if possible, winning the contest. What is the objective of this sense control? Is to winning the title of whatever beauty pageant or whatever it is. So it's not devotional, but since sense control is there, so sense control can have many objective. And in the 61st verse, Krishna says that if you make me the goal of your sense control, uh, it is better than having any other goal for sense control. Um, Going forward, the first 6 verses, Krishna actually talks like as if he's a professor of sense control, mind control, and sense control. But the seventh chapter, first verse, Maya asakta mana partha, Maya asakta mana partha, is where Krishna is talking about attaching your mind to me. So there's a paradigm shift that happens from the sense control to the sense engagement. Make me the object of your senses. Then you, so from saying no to things, various things, don't do this, don't do that, say yes to me. That use your senses for me, use your senses for me, and that will there's a much better way of of regulating the senses, and the engaging senses in my devotional service is the best way to control senses, because then you are giving something positive to your senses. And that way your senses, once they get used to serve me, they will not find pleasure in serving anyone else, and hence they will not go away, they will never go away. So that way Krishna changes his narrative from 7th chapter onwards, from 7 to 12. His narrative is not control senses, his narrative is love me, how to engage senses in my service. But that is a progression again that we see in Bhagavad Gita, from sense control to sense engagement, utilizing the same senses that you possess in rendering unlimited, devotional service to me, by which you can get ultimate pleasure. 9th chapter, he says, um, 9th chapter beginning verse, that he says, Pratyakshat avagamam dharmyam susukham kartum avyayam. This devotional service has to be practically realized so that you can perform it in a susukham way. How will you realize it? You will realize it using our own empirical senses, our own material senses. So when we engage these senses in the service of the Lord, we can derive unlimited pleasure, unlimited happiness, spiritual happiness. We can experience spiritual happiness by engaging ourselves in the service of the Lord. And then we will realize, our knowledge will become realized knowledge. Otherwise, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is theoretical knowledge. Now, the same knowledge can become realized knowledge when we experience spiritual happiness by performance of devotional service. And then we can perform the same activities in a susukham way, in a very, very happy, joyful way. So, this is where we the shift happens from first 6th chapter to the 7th and 9th chapter, and up to the 12th chapter, where the sense control becomes sense engagement, and using the same senses one can experience unlimited spiritual happiness. So this shift eventually will happen in due course of time, as in the study of Bhagavad Gita. But your perspective is correct, that sense control is not sufficient. Saying no always doesn't help. Some stage we need to give positive engagement to the same senses. We should say, we should not, if we remain engaged in saying no, what you eyes should not do, but doesn't tell eyes what to do, it can be a very eyes can become they can start rebelling against us. So, and that is not very good news. So we should tell eyes what to do also. Thank you so much, Raji.
Thank you so much, Robi. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Vikas Raji, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Dandvat Pranam. Thank you very much for the session, Guruji. Wonderfully packed with so many things, so many spiritual practices. I just raised hand for some couple of comments and questions were there in the this chat box, Guruji. Dr. Subhash Sharma Prabhuji wrote something which I thought that it needs some kind of clarification. So, Hare Krishna, Subhash Sharma Prabhuji, you are there, hopefully. Or I'll read out that comment
Hare
for you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Guruji. This was regarding this that you wrote, in my humble opinion, still complete knowledge is a myth as we are ever evolving. So, if you can just phrase some kind of
Yes,
question that, yes, Guruji.
yes. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Actually, see, knowledge is ever progressing, and we are actually kind of devotion we can have complete, but like omniscient, omnipresent, and all that only can be like ascribed to God or the Godhead. So we are, and if incomplete knowledge is dangerous thing, then who is out of that danger? We are all in that danger. That is why we should be devoted to satsang and bhakti, so that even if the knowledge is lacking, we will be in the right direction and we will have the blessings and mercy of God. Thank you, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So,
Thank you very much.
yeah, so in one sense, can we get 100% knowledge? Um, that's to that extent, you're right. We will never be able to understand Krishna completely because Krishna is omniscient, Krishna is omnipotent, Krishna is omnipresent. So, getting complete understanding of Krishna may not be possible for us, but understanding what he wants us to do, that is possible for us. And the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, in the 700 verses, and Bhagavatam in 18,000 verses, provides for that knowledge sufficiently. So by doing this, now as I said, why Krishna closed his eyes as he saw Putana approaching him. The Acharya says, talks about 21 reasons. Some says 21,000 reasons can be there, and some way say he can have unlimited reasons. Now, that those aspects um, are not. We may not be able to fully comprehend Lord's mind, but we can definitely understand what Lord want us to do. He want us to become his devotee. He want us to come back to him. So 10.10 verse says that yena mam upayanti te, by which they can come to me. How they can come to me? Dadami buddhi yogam tvam. I will give them intelligence. And when will I give them intelligence? When I see them performing devotional service lovingly. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tvam ye namam upayantite. So I just, when the moment I see them performing devotional service in a sincere way, I will give them additional intelligence by which they can understand me and they can come back to me. So we are completely dependent on Lord's mercy. To that extent, your understanding is correct. We don't have to. We have to know that Krishna is God. We have to know Krishna want us. We are all servants of God, and we also need to know Krishna want us to come back to Him. Krishna loves us. Krishna loves us so much that He don't want us to suffer here in the miserable material world, and He want us to come back to Him. And if we know this, we then will try and follow the instructions given by Krishna to the best of our ability in the most sincere way, so that our sincerity will please Krishna. Not our knowledge, panditya will please Krishna. Our sincere effort, endeavors will please Krishna. And seeing our sincerity, He will give us additional intelligence. He will give us mercy. That mercy will take us closer to Krishna. So thank you for sharing that perspective. Anybody, anything else, Praji? You had any other comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One more question is there, Prabhuji, from Prabalika Mataji. She has typed in chat box that how to reduce ego, Prabhuji.
Okay, how to, yeah, how to reduce ego? Um, we'll discuss this in the course of our discussion of chapter 2, especially when the 2.47th verse will come. So the ego comes from our proprietorship, our controller, our knowledge, our thinking that we are in control. We are controllers of this of our life, and this controllership mentality give rise to ego. The controllership mentality will give rise to ego. But if you if you were really a controller, you will not grow old. If you were really in complete control of your own self, you will not fall sick, and then of course you will not die. Forget these three things which are common for like too broad based, too high level. In our day to day life also, we see that nothing is in our control. Somehow things happen in our favor sometimes, and then we feel our ego get a booster saying that, oh, I desired and things the universe arrange, as sometimes people say. We hear people saying that if you desire it strongly, universe arranges. Sometimes you'll desire it very very strongly and universe will not make any arrangements. So some stage you get to understanding that sometimes things happen according to your will, and sometimes actually things happen opposite to your will, and your will does not really matter. Somebody else is doing things to you, and they, so sometimes your his desire and your desire aligns, and you see things happening in line with your desires, and sometimes the opposite happens and you can't do much about it. uh, so that mentality, that some soul searching, some introspection, if one does, one can easily understand that actually they are not in control. And but they will also understand that somebody else is in control of our life, and that basic understanding can also help us reduce our ego. Sometimes we feel that to function and to become successful in the material world, we need to show a lot of ego. uh, we need to tell people how great we are. We need to tell people how smart we are. We need to tell people how knowledgeable we are. Otherwise, why will people give us work? Why will people give us business? And that there is something that we may do something superficially, and we may start believing that, and we may do speak with faith. And there could be two different things. uh, and one may feel confident about doing something, like Arjuna was confident of fighting a war because he was skilled to do it. He practiced very hard shooting arrows, with great accuracy, and he has learned different shastrastras. He earned those shastrastras through various processes. So he was opulent, and he was very confident. So he was dependent on Krishna, but he was also able to execute the war strategies on ground. So there he was doing it on his own, using the knowledge and skills and talents given by Krishna. but uh, but that was not his ego. He said later in the Bhagavatam, he says that all of that was possible because of Krishna's mercy. And when Krishna left this world, he got defeated from very small cowherd boys. He couldn't even defeat those cowherd boys, and they went away with all of Krishna's queens of Dwarka. so uh, so he understood there that all of his skills were actually the skills which originated from Krishna, and because of Krishna's mercy, because of Krishna's will, he was able to execute those on the battlefield and becoming successful. So at one level, we have to have this basic understanding about our own self, and that will drive away our ego. uh, so that is a very brief answer, but we can have more detailed sessions on ego, and there we can pursue this topic further. Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining.
Thank you,
And
Prabhuji.
we'll continue with our session, Bhagavad Gita. Very beautiful verses coming up in next section of Bhagavad Gita, starting with 2.41. Each verse is very beautiful. So please stay connected. Please stay in the class. Please stay attentive in the class. Please ask questions. Please share your realizations during the week. We'll be happy to respond to any queries anyone might have, and we'll be happy to connect with you all next Sunday. Thank you so much. We'll conclude today's session. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki jai, Srila
Jai,
Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur
Jai.
Premanande, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Hari
Hari
Bol,
Bol, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna,
Thank
Hare
Prabhuji.
you,
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Dandavat
Prabhuji.
pranam.
Thank you
Hare
so much.
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you
Hare
so
Hare
Krishna,
much.
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Hare
Wonderful
Thank you so
Krishna.
session.
much.
Dandavat
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna,
Very good.
Prabhuji. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Krishna
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Dandavat
Krishna,
Pranam
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Hare.
Prabhuji.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.